Welcome all to this session of WOW, Women on Wednesdays. And today we have with us here Aishwarya Prabhu, who would be talking on Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, especially for women. And before we begin the session, I would like Mishra sir to please play the motto song. Please, all of you, put your hands on your heart and we can start the motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रदब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात् सर्वितश्च नान्यतीतश्च एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you. Sexual harassment at workplace is considered violation of women's right to equality, life, and liberty. So this particular seminar has been organized with a view to all of us to understand what exactly this is, what about the act, and what exactly are its provisions. Request Manish Gadia, sir, Chairman WIRC, to please give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Ruta, and thanks for arranging this kind of topic where we are not thinking of discussing this openly, but which is much needed. And while discussing before the session with today's faculty, Aishwarya, she said it is not only required for female, but also for the male who are working at the workplace. So really a good topic what you have selected, and definitely it will benefit all the participants. So this is the 11th series of the WOW series, what we have started in the last month, March 2021. So till now, 11th such program we have conducted, and we have got the good response. The objective is that we believe at WIRC that the women are the best teacher. Once a humankind is born, the first teacher to him or her is mother. Once that kids go to nursery or maybe a KG, you will find always a female teacher. I have not seen mostly a male is teaching to nursery kids. And later on also, you go to school, you go to college, wherever you go, the best you will find more female faculty. So because the females are the natural ability or natural quality to teach in a better way, but once we come to our profession, we will find more male faculties than the female. To encourage female faculties, we have started this WOW series, that is Women on Wednesday, where a woman will be the faculty, but participants can be male as well as female, both. So we are really proud to announce that 11 such series has been conducted successfully, and I am hopeful that the new team will continue the same once I will lay down my office. But various women initiative this year, the WIRC took one of the such is the coach portal. Many female chartered accountants have find the job or got the assignment basis, work on the assignment basis. So really great. I will not take much time because today the topic is important and relevant to everyone who is working. So thank you very much. Over to you, Ruta.
Thank you, Manish. For giving women a platform to express their views in the form of Women on Wednesdays. And I assure on behalf of all the women at WIRC, including Pinky ma'am, that we will definitely carry on this series and have a season 2 of this series coming up. Pinky Madam, now I please request you. She is newly elected regional council member and also along with me. So I request her to kindly introduce our today's speaker, CA Aishwarya Prabhu.
Thank you, Ruta, to give me this pleasant task to introduce our today's speaker, CA Aishwarya Prabhu. Actually, this topic is also close to my heart. As Manishji informed you that we had made a group of women CA, and we are doing a project in name of Rahe Hum Saavdhan for junior kids in all our school, in BMC schools, free of cost we are doing. This is 1 hour session we are carrying out on this topic only. So we are the regular faculty in BMC school. They are inviting us once in a year to do virtual program on this topic. And in 440 BMC school, they are telecasting at the same time. So this topic, I am very grateful that they have chosen me for coordinator for this topic. CA Aishwarya Prabhu is a founder director of Akeswar Consulting OPC Private Limited. And this company is a sister concern of CA Sai Manohar Prabhu and Company, Chartered Accountant. Her role is majorly into financial consulting related to internal financial control setup and related documents, compliance, health checkup of business, accounts outsourcing, MIS reporting, etc. Her team is consistent of 12 dedicated people. Before that, she was a program and operational senior analyst in Accenture in India. 6 years, 6 months she worked there. Her role was of a program and operational senior analyst for legal operation India. Her job profile covered a wide arena, which includes reporting for client account leadership, which covered financial and cost analysis, data analytics, and reporting for contract managers, leadership, working closely with information security team of Accenture, especially to cover legal information. She worked for information security systems, data analytics, client financial management, etc. Aishwarya is also certified Reiki practitioner and abstract artist by hobby. And her write-up is like she's saying that with the rise of the concept of gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, the number of cases of sexual harassment has risen dramatically over time. Considering this fact and that the awareness of rights against sexual harassment is still low across the working women, that's why she chose to get certified as a post consultant. So we are fortunate, we are going to learn how we can face the situation. Mainly we all are thinking that this program is only for female, but she cleared that no, it's for male member also, because if any female is taking advantage of this act, how they can benefit from that. They can fight against that false allegation. So welcome Aishwarya to take the session. Of course, please go ahead.
Thank you, Pinky ma'am. Thank you, CA. Thank you, Ruta. So let's start. I'll start my screen sharing.
Yes. Thank you, Pinky.
I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. So here I am. I'm CA Aishwarya Prabhu, and I have chosen the topic for today's presentation as POSH, that is Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. And my tagline for the same is Stand Up and Speak Out, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal. So just now, Pinky introduced myself, but then I would like to give you a brief introduction of myself. Like with the rise of the concept of gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, the number of cases of sexual harassment has risen dramatically over time. Considering this fact and that the awareness of rights against sexual harassment is still low across all genders, especially women, I chose to get certified as a POSH consultant. I'm a director at Ankakshat Consulting OPC Private Limited, which is into internal financial control setup and related documentations, compliance, health checks of businesses, and accounting outsourcing. I have a work experience with Accenture of 7 years, wherein I was a senior program analyst and I am Tableau certified as well as a Reiki practitioner. So this was a brief about myself. Now let's get started. So what made me pursue POSH? This is a question which everybody asks me usually when I go for the training session or when I say that I am a POSH consultant. So what made me pursue POSH? What is the story which led me towards POSH? So like I would like to take you back to the year 2017, March 28, 2017. Around 10:30 a.m., I was working on my laptop and I received a ping from my manager. When I saw him pinging me early in the morning, because usually he was a person who used to join office late, at around 12 a.m., 12 p.m. So when I saw his ping, I was a bit surprised and I just asked him that what happened. Like I thought initially that might be he just wants to plan the work as it was a Monday and he wants to plan the work for the rest of the week. So I was just wondering why is he pinging me in the morning at 10:30 a.m. And then he started inquiring me about my colleague who was working closely with me on one assignment. And being her birthday on the last Friday, I told my boss that okay, she must be having a long weekend. That's why she looks unavailable at the time. But then he was just going on inquiring about her that when was the last time you had a word with her? What was your communication all about? And then why is she still unavailable? Do you have any idea? When did you lastly communicate with her? What was the time of your communication? And so on. And the questions were getting a bit intruding. So finally, I had the courage and I asked my boss that why was he inquiring so much about that colleague of mine? And then what he told me really shook me. I was deeply shattered. I was broken down. He told me that my colleague had committed a suicide. That the same morning, early morning, she had committed a suicide. She had hung herself by a ceiling fan when her husband was off to work. And I was totally shattered. I was crying. I didn't know what to say because we just had a word 3 days ago when it was her birthday. I wished her a happy birthday. And then what made her commit a suicide early morning on Monday was a question which I was having in my mind. My boss was also equally shattered and he was trying to know that was there any problem she was facing in her work life or what was there any domestic violence in her case or what was it that she took such an extreme step. But then the HR by round they started interviewing all the team members. We were pretty unaware of what was going on. We were not really opened up of the issue. And finally it happened so that we came to know, not from the legal channel, not from the official channel, but unofficially we came to know later on that she was facing sexual harassment in the office, though it was not our team which was indulged in it. But yeah, in the company she was facing harassment and she did not have the guts to stand up and speak out. That is why I chose my slogan as stand up and speak out. She did not have that courage. She was not aware of her rights. She was, yeah, she knew to an extent that yeah, there is certain committee which will stand by her, but then she did not have that courage to stand up and she ended her life. And this was a really a changing event for me. Like I was shattered, and then I thought that yes, I should work in this area. I should make my female colleagues aware that if they are facing any such challenges, they should speak up, they should stand up, they should not fear or they should not do anything which is not advisable. So that made me pursue POSH. This was my story which made me pursue POSH. Now, I will like to show you a few videos where we can just say that break the ice and then start with this topic.
Actually, voice is not coming.
ईश्वर मैडम ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा है, वहाँ पे
Audio,
शेयर
हाँ.
स्क्रीन किया ना आपने, तभी वहाँ पे ऑडियो क्लिक कर दीजिए ना मैम, ऑडियो नहीं आ रहा है, इसको स्टॉप
Okay. Let me escape and just choose it again.
Yes.
Just a moment.
मैडम यहाँ पे नहीं, जब भी आप स्क्रीन
नहीं नहीं, when you are, हाँ, आप जब शेयर करते हो ना स्क्रीन, उस समय आता है.
स्क्रीन शेयरिंग करते हैं ना, तो स्क्रीन शेयरिंग पे जाइए, फिर वहाँ पे नीचे देखिए ऑडियो का ऑप्शन है, जैसा उस दिन आपने किया था.
Okay.
हाँ
I'll start sharing it again.
हाँ, फर्स्ट शेयरिंग
Yeah.
करिए, फिर सेकंड नीचे ऑडियो का ऑप्शन है,
Yeah.
क्लिक करिए.
नहीं आया, ऑप्शन ही नहीं आया इनको अभी.
No, I got the option.
नहीं, अभी डायरेक्ट आएगा मैम.
Is it audible now?
Yeah, now it's audible.
Yeah.
मैं तो अपना जा रही थी चुपचाप, उन्होंने ही बात शुरू की.
बात करना भी गुनाह हो गया. कमाल है, अब आदमी करे तो करे क्या.
हुआ क्या, ठीक से बता. लंच टाइम हुआ तो मैं टिफिन लेकर आ रही थी. संतोष जी सामने से चलकर आए और मेरा रास्ता रोक लिया.
अब रास्ता थोड़ी बदल लेंगे क्योंकि सामने से लेडीज आ रही है. एक ही दफ्तर में काम करते हैं भाई, ये तो होगा. मैंने देखा उसके हाथ में खाने का डब्बा है, तो मैंने पूछ लिया, आइए आज साथ में लंच करते हैं. बस इतना सा तो बोला.
कुछ बोला क्या? पहले बोला कि
ये रंग काफी जच रहा है आप पे.
फिर बोला
आइए साथ में लंच करते हैं.
मुझे कंफर्टेबल नहीं लग रहा था, पर मैंने उन्हें आराम से मना किया. मैं मनीषा के साथ लंच करती हूँ. शायद उनको बुरा लग गया.
अब बुरा तो लगता ही है ना, ऐसा भी क्या है. उससे 3 साल पहले से हूँ इस दफ्तर में. रिस्पेक्ट भी कोई चीज होती है यार.
रिस्पेक्ट अपनी जगह है. मैं समय पे अपना काम खत्म करती हूँ, सुबह टाइम पर आती हूँ, 1 आध घंटा एक्स्ट्रा भी रुकी हूँ मैं कई बार. और मैंने कुछ गलत थोड़ी कहा. जाने लगी तो
आपसे कहीं ज्यादा अच्छी दिखने वाली लड़कियां काम कर चुकी हैं इस ऑफिस में, तो ज्यादा दिमाग मत लगाइएगा.
ये किस तरह की बात है?
बात क्या है ना, ये सर पे चढ़ जाती हैं. अब लेडीज समझ के हम इनको डांटते फटकारते नहीं है, तो इनको लगता है ये ज्यादा टॉप में. और ऐसा कुछ तो बोला भी नहीं मैंने, मुझे लगा डर गई शायद, तो मैंने हंसकर समझाने की कोशिश की. अरे स्मिता जी और मैडम लोग भी हैं इस ऑफिस में, हम लोग कई बार साथ में बैठ के लंच करते हैं, तो इतना सोचिएगा मत इस बारे में. इतना सा बोला तो मुंह बना लिया, घूर के निकल गई वहां से. मजाक भी नहीं कर सकते क्या?
मजाक के नाम पे कुछ भी बोलेंगे क्या? मैं अभी उनसे बात करती हूँ.
अब स्मिता, वैसे इससे पहले कभी संतोष जी के बारे में ऐसा कुछ सुना तो नहीं है. हो सकता है तुझे ही गलत लग रहा हो. मेरा मतलब सोच ले एक बार.
सब ठीक है ना?
क्या सोच रही हो? जो हुआ वो गलत था या नहीं? गलती से था या नहीं? या हुआ भी या नहीं? सच तुम जानती हो, सोचो मत.
स्मिता जी सब ठीक है ना?
ठीक तो नहीं है, लेकिन हो जाएगा.
Yes. And there is one more video. So if you see in this video, we saw that it was a office environment.
सिंह साहब कटिंग आ गई।
Just a moment.
चाय कम होती जा रही है विशु।
अरे क्या सिंह साहब आप भी।
Yeah, so if you see in this PPT, it was with this video, it was an office environment which we were dealing about. And going to the next video, we would be seeing that which all arenas do women face harassment.
रविवार की सुबह या मंगलवार या बुधवार, रोज की कहानी है। मैं अपना काम कर रही थी।
अरे बीवी एक गिलास पानी तो पीने दे।
और तभी साहब को प्यास लगी। और भाई पानी पीने का असली मजा तो शेल्फ में ऊपर रखे हुए ग्लास से ही आता है। वहां लखनऊ में आज की दोपहर थोड़ी अलग है।
क्या बात है डिम्पल जी, आजकल आपके गाल जो है ना वो टमाटर की तरह लाल लाल हो गए हैं। वैसे पिंक ड्रेस में आपको देखकर ना दिल खुश हो गया है। आप एक काम करो, आप हमारे दिल का ख्याल रखो, हम आपकी प्रमोशन का ख्याल रख लेंगे।
अजी नौकरी इनकी बदौलत है तो इतना बोलने का हक तो बनता है ना। और ये देखिए आज की शाम इस छोटे से गांव में कितनी खूबसूरत है इन जनाब के लिए।
अरे बहुत मेहनत करती है तू, कल से काम बंद कर दूंगा तेरा, और दूसरे ठेकेदार के भी काम नहीं मिलेगा।
पूरा दिन इतनी लगन से मेहनत करती हूँ तो लाला जी सराहना तो करेंगे ही ना। आप सोच रहे होंगे ना ये सब मैं आपको क्यों बता रही हूँ, क्योंकि कभी किसी को बताने की हिम्मत नहीं होती। अगर हिम्मत करके बता भी दूं तो कोई विश्वास नहीं करता, और अगर कोई विश्वास कर भी ले तो साथ नहीं देता।
एक सुरक्षित कार्यस्थल हर महिला का अधिकार है और हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी। इन्हें हिम्मत दें, इन पर विश्वास करें, इनका साथ दें।
Yes. So how did you find the videos? Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
It was
So
amazing. Yeah.
how did you find the
We all-
videos?
we all are facing this type of situation in our workplace, but we never thought that this is come under this sexual harassment.
Yes. So now as we go forward, you will get many surprises, which might be you will feel that yes, I have faced this, but I never knew that this was sexual harassment. Or I have maids in my house, but I never knew that they are covered under sexual harassment. Or I know that my daughter goes to a college, but she has that right of raising a voice against sexual harassment. Now the contents for the today's presentation are: firstly, I will introduce you to how POSH Act originated. Then what is workplace sexual harassment? What does it mean? What does it include? Prevention and prohibition, redressal, and lastly, the penalties. Look at this picture. I'm sure none of us knows who this lady is. This is Bhavri Devi. She is an Indian social worker from Bhateri, Rajasthan. Bhavri Devi was working towards prevention of child marriages She was from Rajasthan and she was working as an Anganwadi worker in 1985 with Rajasthan. In 1992, Bhavri was entrusted with the responsibility of working for prevention of child marriages. And hence, as an Anganwadi worker, she took up the responsibility and she was fulfilling her duties very loyally with the government of Rajasthan. In 1992, she faced with a case where the Rajasthani family was indulging into child marriage of their 1-year-old daughter. Bhavri was very agitated by this, and hence she met the family and tried to explain that it was illegal to enter into any child marriage formalities. The family was very furious and they threw Bhavri Devi out of their house. Still, Bhavri never stopped. She met the police, the deputy superintendent of police in the village, and then she went and tried to stop the marriage. But the family did not respond, they did not listen, and they continued with the marriage formalities, and they finally ended up marrying their 1-year-old daughter. After the marriage ceremony took place, the family tried to reach out to Bhavri Devi. With the help of the local residents of the village, they found the address of Bhavri Devi, and the family once reached out to Bhavri Devi, and in front of her husband, they brutally raped her. It was a gang rape where 5 members of the family brutally raped Bhavri Devi. Bhavri Devi was shocked. Because she was an independent working woman, she had the courage to go to the local police station. But what happens as expected? It happened as expected. The local police never entertained Bhavri Devi. They tried all their levels best to just shoo her away from the police station. But Bhavri Devi was determined. She stopped at the police station. Finally, after 52 hours of her gang rape, she was taken for physical examination. But the night when she stopped at the police station was a tremendous night for her. The female constables in the police station tried to molest and harass Bhavri Devi by taunting her about her character. When she was refusing to go out of the police station without filing a complaint, the police asked her to just leave her lehenga back in the police station and go back without any clothes to her house. Bhavri Devi just had her husband's blood-stained dhoti and she refused to go out of the police station until morning. What happened later was again against Bhavri Devi. The local court there dismissed all the allegations against the victims, against the wrongdoers, and Bhavri Devi had no choice but to remain mum. Now the wrongdoers were roaming freely, and finally some women organizations in India and specifically from Rajasthan reached out to Bhavri Devi for help. They filed a litigation in the court of Rajasthan named as Vishakha. These Vishakha guidelines were raised for getting women their fundamental rights of freedom and security at their workplaces. Finally, the state of Rajasthan, after hearing the facts of the cases and the situation, the state of Rajasthan passed the Vishakha guidelines. The Supreme Court too upheld the Vishakha guidelines, which stated that security of women, let it be physical or mental, is the right of every woman, be it their house or be it at the workplace. The Vishakha guidelines stated that employers should take preventive measures like express preclusion of harassment and provide healthy work conditions in the matters of hygiene, comfort, and health. If there is an event of infringement of administration rules in the workplace, suitable disciplinary action should be made. If the offences submitted fall under the domain of Indian Penal Code, the employer must report it to the authorities. The organization should have a redressal committee to address harassments. This should be independent on the way that they demonstrate establishes the offense under the Indian Penal Code or some other law. Such a committee must have women as half the members, and it must be also headed by a woman, including a counseling facility. A report must also sent to the government annually on the development of the committee. The businesses should take proper measures to spread awareness on the issue. So, the Vishakha Guidelines were laid down to protect females at workplaces, but these were only guidelines. It definitely suggested for formation of committees so that the workplace remains safe for women. It also suggested that the workplaces should have all the precautionary measures for women's safety. But again, as we say, we were in India and these were only the guidelines. And most of the businesses never took any guidelines seriously unless and until it became an act. Vishakha Guidelines. Vishakha Guidelines also defined what sexual harassment meant. It shifted the accountability from individuals to institutions. That is, now the women were not responsible for themselves, but now the institution where they worked was responsible for their safety, and formation of a committee for prevention of such issues was mainly focused on in the Vishakha Guidelines. The POSH Act 2013. The Vishakha Guidelines were laid in the year 1997. Then what happened in the year 2012 that the POSH Act came in place in 2013? So if we remember, in the year 2012, there was a Nirbhaya gang rape case in Delhi which happened. It was a brutal case where a 18-year-old girl was gang raped in a bus, in a state transport bus. And post that, most of the women organizations were again on the streets. This led to the introduction of the POSH Act 2013, wherein all the women working organizations came together and they pressurized the government that Vishakha Guidelines are fine, but still the women are not safe in this country. They are not allowed to move outside freely. In workplaces also, there are cases of crime rising against women. So there should be some act which covers for safety of women at workplaces. And this led to the introduction of the POSH Act 2013. Now, the POSH Act 2013 mainly focuses on prohibition, prevention, and redressal of sexual harassment cases at workplace. Now, what does the POSH Act say? No woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. The POSH Act mainly says that no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. Section 3 of the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace specifically says that let it be any woman, but she will not be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. It focuses on prevention, prohibition, and redressal. Prevention means first thing is the workplace should prevent any such thing from happening. Once it is prevented, it should be a law or it should be a policy in that organization prohibiting any such activities. And if at all any such activities come up, there should be a committee which is there for redressal of such issues. Now, let us understand what does an aggrieved woman mean in the POSH Act. Aggrieved woman means a woman who is working, or she might be visiting a workplace, or she might be a student. So working, she's just visiting a workplace, or she might be a student. Visiting a workplace as a CA, or as a, when we have a CA firm, we see that there are many clients walking in our office. So if she's a woman who's visiting your workplace, then also she can be an aggrieved woman. If she's working with you or she's working with an organization, she can be she can be an aggrieved woman. If a woman is just going for an interview at a certain place, she still can be she can be a aggrieved woman. If she's a student, she's in school, she's in college, she can be a aggrieved woman. Now, under working, you can see domestic workers, regular, temporary, ad hoc, daily wage earner, working for remuneration, working on voluntary basis or otherwise. She's employed directly or through an agent. She's a contract worker, she's a probationer, she's a trainee, she's an apprentice, or any other such name. So now if you see, aggrieved woman covers working, visiting a workplace, or a student. She may be a domestic worker. Domestic worker covers our maids, our daily helpers. She may be a regular or a temporary worker. She may be a daily wage earner. She may do it for remuneration or voluntary or any other factor. She's employed directly or through a contractor. She may be a trainee. She may be on probation. She may be an article. She may be called by any other such name. So, were you aware that a daily domestic worker, a maid which comes to our house, or an article who works under a CA or a practicing doctor can fall under POSH? Did anybody have this idea?
Yes, madam.
Okay. So this is aggrieved woman. Now let's go to workplace. Let's go to workplace. So a workplace is defined as any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment. During the course of employment. So it includes government organizations, it includes NGOs, it includes nursing homes, it includes corporations, it includes houses, it includes companies, it includes educational institutions, it includes farms, it includes any sports facility, it includes hospitals, cooperative societies, or any other service provider. So whether it is organized sector or unorganized sector, whether it is a government organization or whether it is a domestic cooperative society, or whether it is a house, or whether it is an NGO, or whether it is a nursing home, all these areas are called as workplaces. When somebody is employed there, it is a workplace. So for the employee who's working with the government, her office would be her workplace. But for our maids, our house is her workplace. Be a housekeeping agency, the cooperative societies where she visits is her workplace. Be a professor, the college which she visits is a workplace. Be a nurse, the hospital where she visits is a nurse workplace. So workplace covers structured as well as unstructured, government as well as private, NGOs as well as profit-making organizations, houses as well as restaurants, farms, and every other place where people go for employment. Now, what is sexual harassment at workplace? Sexual harassment includes any one or more of the following unwelcoming acts or behavior. Just understand unwelcoming acts. So whatever, if a lady finds that it is not welcoming, or if she finds it very unpleasant, then it amounts to sexual harassment. Let it be directly or indirectly. So whether it is a physical contact or physical advance, a demand or a request for sexual favor, making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. All these fall under sexual harassment. Following acts when in relation to a behavior of sexual harassment may amount to sexual harassment. Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in her employment. That is, okay, behave, if you give me such so and so favor, I would definitely see that you are promoted in the next cycle. Implied or explicit threat to detrimental treatment in her employment. Okay, you're not behaving as per my wish. I will see to it that you stay here on this level for next 5 years. Implied or explicit threat about her present or future employment status. Okay, so you're not ready to come out with me. In that case, let's see how many days still you continue in this workplace. So this is a threat to her. Interference with her or creating hostile or intimidating or offensive work environment for her to work. So interfering in her work or creating hostile work environment. What does this mean? Creating a hostile work environment. So let me give you an example here. That I am working in a team of 5 people. I have 2 female colleagues with me and 3 male colleague counterparts. So what happens is when I visit office, I have always seen that these male counterparts are busy in gossiping, or they might pass some sexual comments, not about us, but in general about a woman, or they might pass sexual oriented jokes, which makes me uncomfortable to work in that environment. So creating a hostile environment is an environment in which a woman is not comfortable working in. Humiliating treatment offered to the women employees. So implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment, explicit threat about her future employment, hostile work environment, or any other humiliating treatment can be considered as sexual harassment at workplace. Any questions till now? Okay. Yes, now I would like Soham to take forward the session.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I'm just going to request the host to allow me to start my video.
You can start your video.
I'm not able to.
Should I stop my video?
No.
Yeah, you have to stop your video, then he can start.
Okay.
Okay, we would need both our videos to be working at the same time, because is that possible?
You can continue, Soham.
While we figure out my video part, thank you, Aishwarya, for this opportunity. As she mentioned at the start of this session, I work closely with Aishwarya and her team, and we do conduct such training programs which are POSH related. I'll quickly give you a brief of who I am and what do I do. My name is Sohan Dadarkar. I am a learning and development professional. I conduct workshops for organizations and B schools using stories and drama. We work in a very creative form, wherein in our session today also you'll get to see a little bit of drama through which the learning takes place. I have been involved with several chartered accountant firms, banks, and different various organizations, wherein we talk about essentially core values, diversity and inclusion, and leadership, again with this format of using stories and drama. And in today's session, my part, I'm going to be taking you through an interesting activity, and then we'll have a discussion. Now, what I would like to do over here in this part of the program is involve everyone, is to request you to actively participate so that we learn from each other's experience, from each other's thought. The first thing that I would request all of us to do is to keep a pen and paper ready, and you get to see here a word on your screen. The word is joke, Joke, joke. So I am going to give you 30 seconds. I want you to write down whatever comes to your mind when you see the word joke on your screen. I want you to essentially write words and not sentences, but just write down a list of words that come to your mind when you see the word joke. For example, when I see the word joke, I am reminded of my friends. So friends could be a word. So make a list of words. Your time, 30 seconds, start now. You can write in your diary. If not, you can put it in your notepad in your phone. 30 seconds. Okay. All right. Time up. Time up. What we are going to do now is I'm going to request you to put these words in the chat window. So if I can go on to the chat window and write down the words that you've listed down when you see the word joke, and we'll have a discussion around it. Can I see some words in the chat window? Okay. All right. Good times, harmless, joy, fun, fantastic. Okay. Funny, laughing, laughter. Okay, you remember of cousins, friends, college, tuition. Okay. All right, we'll take a few more. Okay. All right. All right. So friends as a word is coming pretty common. In almost all our all the participants are mentioning friends as the word. All right. But besides friend and laughter, we are getting some very different and diverse words. If you notice, building, college, these two words that have come up, and not many have common in it. Laughter seems to be the common word. Not hurting and obscene, that's another word. All right. So my point essentially over here is that how you perceive joke is a very individual take on it. Yes, comedy, fun, laughing, that's how you will take it. And how do you the way you perceive a particular joke is you laugh at it because at some point of time in that joke you agree to it, or probably you might have experienced that particular incident or a fact that is being shared in the joke. You also have a good laugh at it. But many a times such jokes are probably at somebody's expense, and we fail to understand that by cracking a joke at somebody's expense, that person feels offended and he may not be okay with it. In a group setting, most of the times when we are with our friends and family, we do end up cracking jokes and taking pot shots at each other, and it's in a lighter vein. It's we always have a good time while doing this. In an office environment, essentially when we start our careers, we don't start with our families. We don't start careers with our friends. So we end up working with strangers for 9 hours, 10 hours of the shift. Eventually we have a bond with them. We develop a relationship, a rapport with them. Many a times while we work, it's not necessarily that we are here to build friendship. We are here for professional reasons. And while doing so, at times certain jokes are not taken, people might find it very offensive. Certain jokes cracked at a particular person, at a particular gender, caste, creed, religion, and we can go on having such diverse ways of cracking jokes. Well, in that case, people might get really offended. So again, I feel that if you are going to crack a joke, and I'm slightly deviating from the topic sexual harassment because I'm going to come to it at a later stage, but if we just think of joke and we might say, "Arey, it's just a joke, why don't you take it as a joke, and why are you taking it so personally?" The person takes it personally, one of the reasons being he's not okay with the fact of certain part in that joke. He does not agree with it. I feel in similar lines, when we look at working with people, and at certain point of time we disagree with them on certain aspects, that means we always have this kind of an invisible fence around us. It's like an invisible wall, wherein we have this a way of working in a certain style, and when people want to invade it, or people want to get probably they want to pass a remark or pass a comment, and that is something that you're not okay with. I feel this joke part, when and done at somebody's expense, it's the person who receives it and who's not okay with it is the one who feels very offended, while people who are cracking it might feel that, what's so big deal about it? But it's certainly the person who's at the receiving end. Now, when we are talking about jokes, I'm going to slightly move now to the part where we are going to watch a particular scene over here, and we'll have a discussion around it. To do so, I'm going to request. Okay, I'm still not able to start my video, Aishwarya. Sorry, I don't know how do we play this. If you're the host, can you allow me to play my video?
Just a moment.
Yeah. Or if somebody from the tech team can help us.
No, I am not the host. I'm not able to allow you to.
Okay.
Mr. Soham?
Yes, hi. Yes.
Is it possible that you just share your screen वर start करून लॅपटॉपच्या?
नाही, इथे आम्ही नाटक सादर करतोय. सो माझा चेहरा नाही दिसला तर आम्ही नाटकच सादर नाही करू शकणार.
अच्छा, फिजिकल करताय का?
मी सीन प्ले करतोय.
ओके.
त्याच्यामध्ये कलिगचं एक डिस्कशन चाललंय. सो आम्हाला
पण मग स्टार्ट व्हिडिओ मिळत नाही तुम्हाला करायला?
नाही, मी इथे जर स्टार्ट व्हिडिओ म्हटलं तर यू कॅनॉट स्टार्ट युअर व्हिडिओ.
हो, पण मग ते होस्ट करायला पाहिजे.
सो हु इज द होस्ट ओव्हर हियर? इफ यू कॅन रिक्वेस्ट
पिंकी और रुता चित्रे is there. Ruta should be there or Pinky should be there. They are the host.
बरं, ठीक आहे.
Hello. Hello.
Video, you please enable the video for the general category, everybody, so he can start his video. He's in act presently.
Okay. Let me ask a technical person.
Yeah, anybody who is the host.
But while they do this, let me just kind of quickly brief you of what we are going to do next. You're going to be watching a particular scene now, which is happening between two colleagues. And this is a discussion between Ajay and Sakshi. Both Ajay and Sakshi are colleagues working in an organization. They're working on a complex client project. It's a very difficult, tedious, demanding a lot of hard work to be put in, because it's a very high client, high stake project for a client, for a customer. Now they're having this online discussion between Ajay and Sakshi, and I would like all the other participants who are going to watch this scene to observe the scene carefully, and if you can also observe the communication part of it, how they are behaving, and then we'll discuss about harassment. We will talk about certain nuances under it, and while we do so, I would request all the other participants to switch off their cameras so that you will get to see only these two characters on your screen. Otherwise, we'll have a little, it will be a little chaotic. And also, if you can mute yourself, I would like only, okay, my screen is not up yet. So, all right, now while you do so, while you are going to watch the scene, you can also take down some notes and identify the right behavior and the wrong behavior, because essentially we are talking about behaviors here.
We can start the scene, Soham.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we'll just start the scene. Like might
Yeah,
be my
I'm not
video is
able to.
visible,
Yeah, I'm not
and
able
you,
to start my video.
but then you can just put in your audio and I'll be on the
Yeah,
video.
I hope I'm clear.
Actually, I called the technical person. He's looking after why this problem is happening.
Okay, never mind. All right, we'll
So,
continue with this. I hope I'm audible enough.
yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let's watch the scene. You're hearing a discussion between Ajay and Sakshi. They are talking about a client project.
This work is just not getting completed in time. Report kaha hai yaar? It's so complicated. I'm getting nervous now.
Wait, Sakshi. Let me check with Shirish. I think you were supposed to submit the report, right?
Yes, we can't go ahead unless we receive that report.
Right. Okay, wait. Let me handle him. Wait a minute. I'm going to call him. 1 second. Yeah, Shirish. Yeah, Ajay here. Right. Arey, listen, boss, yaar, where is the report? Matlab, hello. Arey, you can't work in this manner, na? You're not the only person working in this office. There are others also. Right. No, send it to her directly and mark me CC. Thanks. He's sending it to you in 5 minutes.
Oh, thanks, Ajay. You're super.
See, I keep telling you, right? I'm there for you. Anything you need, Sakshi, anything. Just let me know.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so all right. We might need to visit the client for a presentation, by the way.
Are you kidding?
No, I mean, did you speak to Mr. Narayan?
Yeah, I had a word with him, and he said that he wants to ensure that we deliver the best of the product. But then, like physical meeting was never decided.
No, relax. We are supposed to go and meet him. Okay. The meeting is happening next Friday, and it's going to be a very interesting meeting with him. You remember, he's a very important client for us, right?
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah. And by the way, this meeting is not online. Okay.
Oh, so we have to travel somewhere.
Right. We are going Jaipur, my darling. We are going Jaipur. It's a very beautiful city. Okay. First of all,
when it is scheduled, by the way.
Well, see, I spoke to him, and we got this scheduled for Friday. There is a client. See, there's a networking event that's happening in their company, and I thought of having our presentation done in the morning with him, and then in the evening there's going to be a dinner networking with his customers. So it's a good chance, to network and meet others. We might just win some more business from Jaipur. Why leave this chance?
Yeah, definitely Jaipur. I have heard it's a very beautiful city, but still.
Well, it is beautiful, but then you're more beautiful, isn't it? I mean, far more better than the actors these days,
Please, Ajay, stop it.
See, okay, we can do one thing. The first day we have our meeting lined up, okay, the presentation done. And the next day that we can go and do some sightseeing. No, वैसे भी, it's a weekend. Why leave a chance to do some sightseeing on company's expense,
So you have planned everything, right?
Of course. I mean, yeah, it's a project, that we've been working on for so many days now. You know how hectic it is, I can see those dark circles, below your eyes. Okay. I think it's a good time, to spend some time together and get to know each other, so.
Listen, Ajay, listen.
No, you listen, Sakshi. I hope you like hazelnut coffee with cookies. It's awesome that you get over there,
Ajay, I have to return.
In fact, you know what? I dreamt of having coffee with you.
What? Ajay, please stop it.
Yeah, the other day, in fact, I was dreaming of having coffee with you on the beautiful lake, and watching the sunset.
Ajay, please stop it. I have to return back the same day.
Okay, we'll discuss. All right. Okay, so that's the situation that you've watched. I'm going to now give you another 30 seconds to to think over this scene, and let us discuss what did you find right in this scene, what was wrong, what was the behaviors that was expected, what behaviors were inappropriate, is what we'll discuss. So 30 seconds. You can also, if you want, you can comment in the chat window, or you can unmute and share your opinion as well. But before that, 30 seconds to just ponder over this scene, to just think about it. Okay. All right. Any thoughts over here?
Yes, CA Preeti Oja is saying that it was flirting, but which is harassment.
Okay. All right. So if this is okay, so she thinks it's flirting, but it would amount to harassment. All right. Anybody else would like to?
Actually started with flirting, but it may turn the corner and it may amount to harassment if it is not curtailed at the right spot.
Okay, if not curtailed at the right spot. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody else would like to offer their or share their opinion?
Amisha Gala says that it was not allowing the female colleague to speak, and it was not informed to the female colleague about the schedule.
Okay.
There is Sudekha who is saying if Ajay is a senior and forces Sakshi, who may be uncomfortable, then it is harassment.
Okay.
Use possible is what Govardhan Chopde has to say.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we basically are looking at a very important question: is this harassment or is this flirting? And what is the difference? Anybody would like to?
In case of flirting, the girl as well as the boy both are willing, and this happens usually also. But harassment is when you draw the line, the girl draws the line, and yet it is continued, and then that would turn to harassment. Tila नको आहे आणि तरी तो करणार तर ते harassment.
Oh. Right. I mean, it's if I am friendly with a person, being friends with someone is, I would say the onus lies on both of them, right? I mean, it is mutual. I can't force my, my relationship on somebody. If it's like I want to continue this friendship as long as I'm comfortable with that person. So what you're saying is so right, ki hey, this is mutual again when it comes to flirting, and if you're okay with it. If it's not okay, you have to call out, you have to mention that okay, this is absolutely not okay, and the person who's also doing this needs to be very mindful for the fact is what is right and what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. Now in this particular case, can Sakshi go ahead and complain about it?
Now let me explain on point 1 that whether it is harassment or it is flirting.
Yes.
Now we can say under posh law, posh law gives importance to impact and it doesn't give importance to the intention. So might be Ajay was just intending to be flirtatious. But what was the impact on Sakshi? Was Sakshi taking it as a joke or was it hurting Sakshi? So it is the impact which makes a difference under posh law and not the intention. So for the male counterpart, it was just flirting. But for the female counterpart, as she was saying it as no, stop it, or she never wanted to be in his company, then it means that it was harassment from her point of view. Now, the second thing which comes up is, can Sakshi complain? Yes, Soham, you can go on.
Yes, I'd like to ask our participants that do you think Sakshi can complain in this case? Do you think that she has the right to call out and report? Anybody?
If she feels uncomfortable, she has all rights to complain.
Yes, if she's uncomfortable, she has all right to. And what you rightly said, initially it all started with a good banter. It started with teasing and with being flirtatious, but then uh, somewhere that it overstepped that line. Like I said, at the introduction, where we all of us carry an invisible fence, an invisible wall, and that's like a privacy. Somebody steps into it, and if we are not okay with it, we'll obviously, it's invading our privacy. We don't want. We disagree with a certain part. We agree with a certain part. We agree that we are working with our colleagues, but we will certainly disagree if somebody oversteps the line. And it's not just about sexual harassment per se, but harassment in any form. If somebody passes a remark which amounts to mental harassment, that also I would feel is something that we are not okay with. But many a times, I have also noticed where having having a different opinion and then boycotting people. I'm slightly again deviating from sexual harassment per se, but it's like talking about mentally harassing somebody. That also amounts to harassment. So what you are okay with, what you agree, and what you disagree is what is a very individual take. And in this case, if you look at Sakshi, initially she was okay with the conversation that she was having with others, but when it overstepped, when he started saying that something like, I dream of you and I want to have this coffee and have planned something, she felt very she felt very insecure. So we, like I said, we always have this thing when what is acceptable to us as a person and what is not acceptable. So we are humans, we are intelligent animals, but at the same time we are also very vulnerable. So that's one point which I wanted to make. And the last question that I have for all the participants is, in this case, if the male colleague says that he's just being appreciative and it's not offensive, I just felt of appreciating her. So what is your take on this?
Can everybody please mute their audios? Mr. Manish Jain, can you please mute your audio? Yes. So can the male colleague say that he was only being appreciative and not offensive? Definitely, the male colleague has the entire right to say that, but under POSH, it is the impact which matters and not the intention. So he may be charged as guilty. So the male colleague definitely can express that it was only his intention, or he was just being appreciative and not offensive. He did not mean to hurt Sakshi. But here, what impact did that fun of his or his flirting, what impact did that have on Sakshi is important. And if Sakshi felt that it was harassment and she was really disturbed, or she could not sleep, or it hampered her peace of mind, definitely in that case, Sakshi would be given justice and Ajay would be considered as the person who has harassed her. Also, I read a comment where somebody said that if it's okay if it is for the first time, but it should not be a repeated offense. Again, this is very subjective. If a person feels that a first time or the last time does not matter, I was hurt, then she can raise a voice even if it is not repeated offense.
Right. It's again, isn't it an individual thing, how we would perceive it?
It is very individual. It is very subjective. So POSH law states that the impact is very important and it is very subjective. So might be me as a woman, I feel that it was harassment. But my friend, who's also a woman, she said that it's okay, yaar, chalta hai, it's just flirting. Be chill, relax. But for her, it was flirting. She can remain calm. But for myself, I have lost my peace of mind, so I can raise a voice.
Certainly, and this brings us to another discussion, which is about behaviors, isn't it? What is the right behavior? Because essentially, if we want to define behaviors, it is about how you act. It's the way of your actions and how people would perceive you. So let's take a look at what are acts that are welcome and what are unwelcome. So Aishwarya, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, definitely. So let's see what can be considered as welcome and what can be considered as unwelcome. So any act which makes you feel good can be considered as a welcome act. Any act which is within limits can be considered as a welcome act. Any act which treats you with equality can be considered as a welcome act. Any act which is legal, which is open, or which is appreciative, which makes one happy, or which makes one feel positive about themselves, can be considered as a welcome act. But against that, if a woman, or let that be any gender, if the person feels bad, if he or she feels one-sided, if he or she feels powerless, if he or she feels unwanted, if he or she knows that it is illegal, if he or she feels that it is intruding their privacy, it is invading their privacy, it has double meanings, it causes sadness or it creates anger, it causes a negative self-esteem, then these can be considered as an unwelcome acts. And anything which is unwelcome will fall under POSH. I would request everybody to take 5 minutes to write down any brief example of possible sexual harassment if they have faced in their life. You can write it down on your piece of paper. It is just for self-visualization or might be self-experience which you have faced in your life. So you can consider these questions. Was it a quid pro quo or a hostile work environment? Was it verbal? Was it physical? Or was it non-verbal? How did you feel about it? What was your reaction? What action did you take? And now, after knowing this fact, after knowing the POSH Act, would you act differently going forward? So, everybody, if possible, write it down on a piece of paper. And also, I would request everybody that after knowing this POSH Act, would you act differently going forward? You can just comment in the chat box. I assume everybody is taking some 2-3 minutes to write any experience they had. And after knowing the POSH law, would you react in a different way going forward? Just comment yes or no in the chat box. I do not see any comments as yet. Is everybody busy in writing or is everybody getting bored? No comments as yet. Just mention if you are just mention if you would behave in a different manner after knowing the POSH law. I wouldn't ask anybody to share their experience, but yeah, definitely. Would you behave differently? Yes, there I can see so many comments coming up saying that yes, now people would react in a different way. There is CA Jayashree Karve, who's saying that she has worked in this area in Dombivli Mahila Mahasangha, therefore lots of cases handled. Lovely, ma'am. I would like to connect with you.
Surely, sure. बोलू आपण.
Yes. Yes, so we'll move on to the next slide, which states what is the first step to prevention. The first step to prevention is recognition. So basically, you should understand what is sexual harassment, or you should understand that you are going through sexual harassment. So anything which is unwelcoming, anything which is sexual in nature, it can be of subjective experience. It need not be everybody who feels the same way. It may be your own personal subjective experience. It is the impact which matters and not the intent which matters. So impact is more important than the intent. And this will definitely occur in the matrix of power. So first step is identify or recognize anything which is unwelcoming, sexual, subjective, impactful, and often which occurs in the matrix of power can be considered as a sexual harassment. Laptop is not responding. My laptop is not responding. Just a moment, I'll go to the next slide.
Match in these fields. It would not be an exaggeration to say that all the profiles which we are going to be covering today are the dream jobs of a lot of CAs, including rank holders and other competitor educational streams. So here we have the panel who will be sharing their open secrets with the students, and I am sure they will learn a lot. I'll quickly introduce the speakers. Starting with Akshay Sirsariwala. Akshay is a CA and MBA from IIM, Kozhikode, CFA,
what is,
and HRM. He has been working with strategy and commercial due diligence team at Deloitte since past 3 years.
No, there is somebody
He is
else who's
also a core
talking. I'm
member
not
of the
really sure what is it all about.
campus recruitment team. He has been a member at Inside IIM's editorial team, created videos.
There is somebody who's talking and who's not on mute.
Yeah, it's simultaneously. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start sharing my screen again. Just a moment. Yes. Yes. Now check your understanding. If two colleagues have gone out in their personal capacity for drinks or coffee and something untoward happens, will it fall under POSH? Yes, this is a question for all the participants here. If two colleagues have gone out in their personal capacity for drinks or coffee and something untoward happens, will it fall under POSH?
Can I answer?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. If it is a workplace or your during work time, then well and good. But POSH मध्ये येईल. But if it is not workplace or during your working hours, it will not. It can be covered by some other law.
Okay. Anybody else has any comment on this? Okay, so let me explain. The sentence says if two colleagues have gone out in their personal capacity. So they have gone out in their personal capacity. What does personal capacity mean? They both have agreed to go out together. So here, basically, both the colleagues have agreed to go out together in their personal capacity for drinks or coffee, and something untoward happens. So in this case, there is a mutual agreement or there is a consent from both the parties to go out. In this case, it wouldn't be falling under POSH. If both the parties are consenting and later on, might be after a fight, something bad happens, and then the lady or the male counterpart says that, okay, I'll go and complain again for you under POSH, this would not work. The harassment which has taken place should be one-sided. It should not be that, okay, initially they both agreed to go out, they both agreed to go out on a date, and later on when it didn't work out, and if the things got bad or if the things turned sour, they come back and complain to the local committee saying that this person has sexually harassed me. So one thing for sure, initially there should not be any mutual consent. It should not be in a personal capacity. It should be always official, and there should not be any mutual consent. The female or the male counterpart who is getting harassed should always be expressing that he's not comfortable for that gesture. So this wouldn't fall under POSH. If one of the above colleagues happens to be a boss and subordinate, what would it be then?
It will not fall under POSH, I think, because they are going in their personal capacities, or whether boss or subordinate, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So when you go in your personal capacity, when you have agreed to go, when you have given a consent to go, whether it is a boss or a subordinate, that doesn't matter. But when you have consented to certain act, then it doesn't fall under POSH. So it should be very clear that you should be expressing your you should always be expressing your disagreement, or you should be always refusing certain things so that you get the benefit of POSH law. A woman candidate is called for an interview and she is harassed by the HR manager. Can she raise a complaint?
Yes, sure, she should.
Absolutely. So even if you are going for an interview, like our definition of aggrieved woman states, even if you are going for an interview there, even if you are visiting that workplace, in that case also, she can raise a complaint with the local committee or the internal committee of that organization. Yes, let me go to
Hello,
the next slide.
hello.
Yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, in your slide, you can also include customers. The customers who visit banks or any establishment, even they'll be covered as visitors. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
you have a
yes.
very good presentation. Only a suggestion.
Definitely. Okay, ma'am. Definitely. I think there is some problem with this slide. It is not moving forward. I'll have to stop the presentation and restart it again.
Aishwarya, meanwhile, do you want to move to the next scene?
Yes. We have a I have a case study to be shared with the audience. So let me first go through the case study, and then we can go to the next scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you will, you can send me your presentation. I will share my screen. Then, if this is the problem from your side.
Okay. I'll have to mail you the presentation in that case.
Yeah.
Let's see if it creates any further issue. I'll just send it over to you.
Okay.
Yes. So now we'll see a case study of Nagaram Balakrishna versus state of Andhra Pradesh. So I'll just brief you about this case. What happened in this case was Nagaram Balakrishna was working with the Special Enforcement Bureau of Andhra Pradesh. he was recognized for detecting 177 cases, arrests of around 401 accused, seizing 12,939 bottles of liquor and 139 vehicles carrying liquor. The petitioner contended that he was framed by political parties and his colleagues, including a junior women officer. The case is as follows. On 10th September, a cell phone belonging to one of a salesmen was seized by the junior woman inspector, which contained sexual explicit photos and videos of women along with the liquor bottles. The petitioner, that is Mr. Nagaram, asked the junior to send over the screenshots of the mobile content and copy it on a compact disc. The woman's husband filed a case of harassment against Mr. Nagaram, saying that he was sexually harassing his wife and that she was disturbed seeing the contents of the mobile phone and she was not in a position to share them with Mr. Nagaram. Based on this complaint, a 3-member special committee was formed and the petitioner was relieved from his work. He was immediately suspended from his work. Now, the question to all of you is that, does this seem to be a case of sexual harassment? And can this person who has been against whom a complaint is filed to commit sexual harassment be immediately terminated from employment? Yes. Do you feel that the person was committing sexual harassment over his junior officer? Okay. Anybody?
Yes, whether junior or senior, if it is there, then they can make complaint.
Okay. Now the case is very interesting. The court has declared that Nagaram Balkrishna was not guilty. It is contended in the case that the woman officer, being a police officer, had certain duties to be followed, and while discharging those duties, if she had to share such pictures with her seniors, as he was doing it only to cover his duties and not to ask any favors from that woman, this does not amount to sexual harassment. So whatever instructions he gave while discharging his duties as a police officer or as an officer under Special Enforcement Bureau did not amount to sexual harassment. He had a very good track record and he never intended to harass that woman through any sexual means. It was only for the record purpose that he was asking the lady to send him the screenshots and get the material copied on a compact disc for storage as evidence required in that case. So the court contended that Nagaram was not liable to sexual harassment. And the court also stated that if any woman goes to such a low level, stoops to such a low level while discharging her duties, then action can be appropriately taken against her as well. So understand the case. He was just discharging his duties, and as a police officer or as an officer in Special Enforcement Bureau, he had full rights to ask for evidences which the junior officer had collected from the spot of the crime. So these were the evidences, and he was not asking her for any sexual favors. It was only for record purpose which he was demanding the screenshots, and he was asking her to get the screenshots copied on certain media. That was it. And the second question, that can a person who has against a complaint filed to commit sexual harassment be immediately terminated? So now the court here said that unless a person is proved to be guilty, he cannot be terminated from employment, though the employer can suspend his services for some period of time until the case is resolved. So he will not be liable to pay that person his salary for those 3 months or 4 months when the case is going on, but he cannot be immediately terminated from employment unless he is proved to be guilty. Now let's watch a story of Rupal Dev Bajaj.
According to Mr. Warren Buffett, know nothing investors, यानी जिनको इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में ज्यादा कुछ
She may be educated, uneducated, she may be working class, she may be an officer, she may be high-ranking officer like me. All women. Nobody is immune. And it happens every day. In 1988, I was serving as Special Secretary Finance. I had about 20,000 people under me. 90% were men. There was a dinner party hosted by the Home Secretary, and Mr. KPS Gill, who was the Director General of Police, was also there. He called out to me and he said, Mrs. Bajaj, I want to talk to you about something. He got up and he came and stood in front of me, towering above me. He put the finger in my face like that and he said, up, come on, up, come along with me. Come on, you come along with me. So I said, Mr. Gill, go away from here. You're misbehaving. And I got out from the gap in between him and me, and when I was going, that is the time when he slapped me on the bottom. That's what he did. Always people have considered it to be a very trivial thing, but I could not get over the enormity of it. Letting it go meant living with a lowered self-esteem, gulping down my humiliation, facing that person every day, facing all the other people. Consequences of complaining, I had not really estimated at that time. Nobody was willing to take up the case for me because they were so frightened of the DGP. He was the highest ranking police officer with all the powers of life and death. No one wanted to do anything against him. And I found that no one had ever filed in section 509 and 354, which is the lesser offences against the modesty of women. 17 years, long years of my life, all of it was taken up by this one case. The lower courts had quashed the case, they had thrown it out. The case reached the Supreme Court, and it was the Supreme Court which called for all the records, reinstated the matter, and also laid down, they gave the definition of modesty. They reprimanded the High Court judge and said, this cannot be treated as something trivial. All the people in every household, this was the talk between husband and wife. The limelight was not on KPS Gill. The entire focus was on me. Why have I registered a case? Must be something wrong with me. I attended the proceedings of the trial throughout along with my husband. But on the day the verdict came, I specially requested, I said, I don't want to go there. KPS Gill was expecting to win, so they had the police band there. And then my husband's driver rang up and said, Madam, he has been convicted on both counts. It's the mindset I fought against. I never fought against KPS Gill. I fought against the mindset of a society. People have started saying now offences against women are increasing. They're increasing. No. Now more women are speaking up.
Yes, so now like we say that now more women are speaking up offenses were already there. They were always there, but now it is the time that everybody should be aware and they should speak up. On this note,
Actually we should clap for that iron lady, I think. She
absolutely,
fought for.
absolutely. So now we are entering into a situation where we see Riya and Anand as a couple, and me and Soham will again have a act which does this. So you'll again see one short drama, and then we will go into all the legal formalities of POSH.
Okay.
Yes, Soham.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I'm still not able to start my video, but I'm going to continue with just my voice.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sure.
So everyone, again, we are back to some a situation that's happening in an organization, in an office. We're going to hear two working professionals in the company. One is Prachi, the other one is Samir. Prachi and Samir are basically a part of a team which is working on a project and also involves another colleague, Riya and Anand. Now, Riya and Anand are a part of this team as well. You'll get to hear about them. You'll get to understand what they are doing in this organization. But let me also tell you that Anand is the team lead. He's the big boss now. He handles a lot of projects, and he's now again considered as one of the leaders, future leaders of the organization. Now, Prachi and Samir are having this discussion towards the end of a call. So let us hear what this discussion is all about.
Hey, Samir, how was the meeting? How did you find the meeting?
The meeting was very good. Yeah. What was the best part about the meeting?
What?
Jam biscuits.
Oh my God.
I like those jam biscuits, and especially, we get that coffee from the local store. It's good combination.
Oh.
Right.
Did you see, by the way, how Riya was communicating with Anand?
Yeah. I mean, she does that every time. Yeah. And by the way, they are getting officially engaged now. I hope you know it.
I know that. But still, yeah, like all those lovey-dovey and nasty comments in the meeting.
Yeah. See, but what to do?
It gets very annoying at times. Yeah, I get pissed off listening to such things.
Listen, Prachi. You need to understand Anand is our team lead now. And plus they're officially engaged. What can we do about it now? You just have to learn to ignore.
Ignore? Ignore what? Ignore what, Samir? Like, this has been happening regularly in our meetings. Yeah. And Anand, Anand has been passing off Riya's work to me in my kitty. This is not once or twice, but every time this is going on. And those lovey-dovey comments from Riya, that doesn't look good in a working environment. No matter they are a couple, but it annoys me. It annoys me. I cannot take it anymore.
Listen. As long as Samir does not get nasty with you, just relax. You don't need to bother. Yeah, and listen. Remember this. We can't do anything about them. He's our boss, yeah. And by the way, did you speak to Riya about this?
I have told her a couple of times that okay, he's your boyfriend, or okay, you're getting engaged, but then this shouldn't come in the work environment. It should be really professional.
So did she understand? I mean,
she doesn't seem to understand. She never seems to understand, and this continues, and this annoys me. And I feel it's not really, I'm not comfortable working like this.
But then what can we do? I think the best thing to do is ignore and have jam biscuits. Chalo, I'm off to my work. I have another meeting lined up. Life is all about attending meetings these days in office. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so that's the end of the scene that you've watched. Now, two quick questions for the participants. One is, I mean, can Prachi go and complain about this kind of behavior to the internal committee or to the higher ups? What do you think? Anybody would like to comment? You can unmute and answer.
She should complain.
She should complain? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the thing is, when you are working in offices or in your office environment, you are not supposed to be personal. Whatever your personal things, keep aside and keep your professional life aside.
Okay. Okay. So she has a right to complain.
Yeah, she has a right to complain.
Okay.
Any other view here?
She has right to complain if the situation is uncomfortable or they are doing any personal things over there, then they can come. She can complain.
Okay. Okay. But I have another quick question on this. So there's Anand also involved in this. Now Anand is the team lead. He handles this project, and going against Anand, it's not, it's going to be in his bad books, right? I mean, there'll be certain repercussions. He might misuse his power, and we might be at the receiving end of this. So what do you think about it? How do we handle Anand, who is, what Prachi is saying, that Anand and Riya are a couple, and Anand being the boss here, if we go against him, he's certainly going to react, and we don't want to lose our jobs also.
Yeah, that's the main thing. People are not opening up because they have some fear in their mind, whether they will lose their job or they fear with disrespect in office or at residence, or the fear is there because of that women are not coming up, or they are not speaking up.
Coming up, right.
Okay, so now let to explain. If Anand, even if Anand is a boss, even if Anand is a boss, Prachi should not worry. She should complain it to the committee, and in this entire process, it is always seen that the person who has complained his identity in the initial stages of discussion, or in the initial stages of discussion with the wrongdoer, is always hidden. It is the committee discusses it in such a manner that the person doesn't immediately come to know that who is the person who has raised a voice against him. So Prachi should be very carefree, and she should raise a voice if she feels that the work environment is hostile and she is not comfortable in working in that work environment. Is it clear?
Can this be under POSH?
Yes, it can be under POSH. This is under POSH.
Okay, because I thought it would have to definitely go, complain is possible, but it would be HR complaint and not POSH.
No. This is also a POSH complaint.
Yes, it's POSH complaint.
Yes, it's POSH complaint, and definitely if she's facing a issue, she will definitely have a right, because it is creation of a hostile work environment.
Okay, got it.
Yes. One more question coming in my mind. If two male members are doing some this type of behavior, then also can anybody complain?
In the sense, can you please elaborate your query?
Yeah, if two male members are behaving in such a way which make uncomfortable to other colleagues.
Okay, yeah. So in that case also, it is creation, it is a creation of hostile work environment for the other colleagues. So in that case also, let it be a one male member or two male members, if anybody is creating a hostile work environment, in that case, definitely the other colleagues can raise the issue under POSH.
Okay, fine.
Okay, okay. There's some issue which is coming up when I share my PPT. I don't know what is the problem. Somehow start sharing again. Yes. Now let's go to see what impacts are happening due to these inappropriate behaviors. So you can see professional impacts are decreased work performances, increased absenteeism or loss of pay, loss of promotional opportunities, retaliation from the respondent or colleagues or friends of the respondent, subjected to gossip and scrutiny, being objectified, becoming publicly sexualized, defamation, having to relocate, job and career consequences, weakened support network. On personal fronts, people go through depression, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, stress, shame, guilt, difficulty in concentration, headaches, frequent illnesses, personal difficulties with time. They feel powerless. They feel loss of confidence in themselves. And overall, they feel a loss of trust in people. They feel problems with intimacy. So if we see, this inappropriate behaviors can have so much of problems in personal lives as well as your professional lives. So instead of taking it and keeping it with yourself, it's better to open up and complain and get freed from that harassment. Now let's go to the legal side. Internal complaint committee or the internal committee. So what is internal committee? The POSH law says that any organization that has 10 or more employees must constitute an internal committee to receive and redress complaints on sexual harassment at workplace. So there should be a committee which is formed within the organization when your organization has 10 or more employees, and this is mandatory. Now, who is part of the committee? It is who is the presiding officer? The presiding officer can be a lady employee in the organization who is at a senior level. There should be 2 other members from any of the employees within the organization, and there should be 1 member who's an external member. Now, this external member should be a POSH consultant, or should be a lawyer, or should have a legal background, or he or she should have been working in the area for women upliftment or women protection. Now you say, supposedly, there is a company which has employees who are all male employees, but still they are more than 10. Is POSH applicable, or who will be a presiding officer in such a case? Now, for such organizations, we have a suggestion to adopt a gender neutral policy so that your presiding officer can be a male officer and the external member also can be a male member, or she can be a female member. But even if you have 10 members or 10 employees or more than 10 employees who are male employees, now POSH is mandatory to all such organizations, irrespective of whether you have any female employee or not. But the moment you have 1 female employee as well, POSH gets mandatory applicable. So 10 or more employees, POSH is applicable, but 1 or more female employee, POSH is mandatory applicable. 10 or more male employees, POSH is applicable. And they should have a IC committee in place.
One question is there,
Yes.
Aishwarya, whether
Yes.
this is applicable to every type of organization like proprietorship or
Yes.
shop or
Yes. It is applicable everywhere. Everywhere where somebody is coming as an employee, that organization POSH is applicable. So let it be a proprietorship concern, let it be a cooperative housing society where people are coming as house helps or people are coming as housekeeping agency mates. Let it be a shop, a sari shop you can say, where there are male workers who are just employed to show saris. So let it be any form of organization. POSH is applicable and a committee should be in place. Now, for unorganized sector, like I said,
Yeah, that I'm asking.
yeah, for unorganized sector might be a
Just
local.
1 minute, can I just bother you?
Yeah.
A CA firm which is having 10 articles and only 3 or 4 employees.
POSH is applicable. POSH is
It is applicable. Articles
Like,
also
because
come
in the
under this.
beginning itself, we have seen that an aggrieved woman or who's aggrieved, a apprentice or an article or a practitioner is covered here. So if apprentice means what? It is just like an article. So even if you have an article, in that case, POSH is applicable and you need to have an internal committee. Because, yeah, and like in unorganized sector for say domestic health. Now I have a domestic help coming to my house, and if she faces any sexual harassment in her employment with me, she can raise a complaint to a local complaint committee. I will come to that later. So in case of unorganized sectors where internal committee setting up is not possible, these people can raise their voice to a local committee, which is a government aided committee which is formed at district levels. So am I clear? Internal committee will have one presiding officer, 2 other members from the employees and 1 external member. So 4 members should be there in the internal committee, minimum 4 members.
Who can be the external member?
The external member can be a woman, or rather she must be a woman with some legal background, or she should be having a POSH knowledge like a POSH consultant, or she should be a lawyer, or she should have been working in the area for women upliftment. So 3 will be internal members and 1 would be the external member.
So whether there is any panel of the members who can be the external member, or we have to choose ourselves? Or
you can choose yourself. So if it is, see, you can choose a person who's into law and who knows about POSH law. Or you can choose a person who's into POSH consultancy, or you can choose a person who's connected with any NGO which works for women. So there is no such panel, but then you'll have to search for such people. Like, yeah, definitely. And there are people who are available to work as external members. Maybe many female lawyers work as external members.
So just for information, I want to ask that whether they are charging something or
yes, we'll come to that. An external member is not allowed to charge exorbitant fees. The external member only can charge rupees 200 per meeting. So if you have a meeting once a year, in that case, she can only charge rupees 200, and her conveyance, whatever her conveyance to your office or wherever the meeting was, only that much of amount she is allowed to charge. So there is no extra fees which you have to pay apart from that rupees 200, which are her seating fees for any meeting. So supposedly your organization doesn't face any issue, but as POSH law says that once in a year you have to file a return. Once in a calendar year, I'll be coming to that later on. So once in a calendar year, you have to file a return. Before that, you should have a meeting with all the committee members. So if you have only one meeting, that is a yearly meeting, the external member charges are limited to rupees 200 plus conveyance. But if you have a case which comes up in your organization and which requires the external member to be present for subsequent meetings, for example, 5 meetings, she comes down for 5 meetings to settle a case. In that case, you'll have to pay her rupees 200 into 5, that is 1000 rupees, plus her conveyance charges. That's it.
So it's a one type of social service only.
Yes, it's a social service. It's not a money minting business.
So whether government is paying them or
No, the organization with whom they are working as an external organization should pay this amount to them. And then they have their whatever other sources of income, but then acting as an external member is not a money minting activity. It is a, you can say it is for women upliftment. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah. Now, non-constitution of IC, repeat offenders and court approach. I will come to this in our penalty section. Now, what is a local complaints committee? A local complaints committee is basically formed by the district officer. He may be the collector or the deputy collector. A local complaints committee is formed for women working in unorganized sector or for women whose organizations do not have a internal committee in place, or for visitors who have just visited an organization once and they have faced sexual harassment, they can go to the local committee. So our housemaids or anybody for that sake, a rural worker can go to the local committee because there is no structured IC in place there. So like we saw in the video, the first video which we saw, that the worker, that lady was a rural worker and she was troubled by her thekedar. So in that case, where can she raise her voice? She can raise her voice with the local complaints committee. So every district, every state, every district has a local complaint committee formed, and that is formed by the collector or the deputy collector. Now, for whom is it formed? It is formed for people who do not have a formal IC to whom they can approach. So they do not have a formal internal committee in place to whom they can approach. So they can go to the local committee applicable for their districts. Again, in this case, when they raise an issue, their identity is not disclosed until the case reaches a certain stage. Furthermore, such cases are not allowed to be published in any social media or in any newspapers. So whatever the case is, it remains a secret with the local committee and the person who has committed the offense and the person who has suffered the offense. Is this clear?
No.
Is it not clear?
It is, Aishwarya.
Okay, okay. Now, what are the powers of the IC? So every IC has been given the powers of a civil court. So basically, they can summon and enforce attendance of the person on whom a charge has been made. They can examine that person on oath. They can require the person who has made the allegation to produce documents and proofs, as well as they can ask the person who is the person who has committed or who is said to be committed the crime. He also can produce documents in his behalf. The IC can decide to terminate the proceedings if any of the complainant or respondent fails to appear in front of the proceedings. And lastly, the whatever decision the IC gives is mandatory on the organizations to implement. So if an IC says that yes, this person is guilty and he will have to be terminated from the employment, in that case, the employer has no other choice but to terminate that person from the employment. So whatever the civil court, whatever rights a civil court has or whatever power a civil court has, the IC has the same powers. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but my laptop is misbehaving. Yes, now we can see the roles and responsibilities of the IC. So the basic responsibilities of the IC are prevention, prohibition, and redressal, receiving complaints, taking or recommending immediate actions, investigating objectively and not subjectively. There shouldn't be any biases attached with the investigation, document findings, recommending actions, facilitate conciliation in accordance to law, create awareness amongst the employees, and annual report to the district officer. So this annual report is submitted by the end of each calendar year to the district officer. Whether you have any case arise or even if you do not have any such issue raised in the calendar year, you have to submit a nil report in that case. But if you have a case arised in the calendar year, in that case, you have to give the details of the case along with the outcome and the actions taken to the district officer. So prevention, prohibition, receipt of complaints, taking actions, document collection, investigating objectively, recommending actions. They can also try and sort out things between the two employees, create awareness amongst the employees, and finally comes the annual report submission to the district officer. Terms of IC: each member of the internal committee will hold office for 3 years from nomination. After 3 years, a different IC will have to be formed by the organization wherein the members are different. The external member can remain the same, but the internal members will have to be different. Now, She-Box. So She-Box is an initiative taken by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. This is an online portal for registering complaints by women for sexual harassment. It is engaged by the central government of India for any woman who can complain, who can file a complaint if she feels scared of going to her IC, or if she's not ready or willing to go to the local complaints committee. She can raise a complaint in the She-Box, which would be immediately addressed to. This is currently applicable only for the government employees, but the government is definitely intending it to get for private and domestic workers as well. So currently the She-Box, it has just been introduced 2 years ago. So it is currently only for the government employees, so government, central, state, any government employee. But the government is encouraging and it is going to declare it very soon that it will be open for private as well as domestic workers. Who can file a complaint? So basically, every woman or every male, if it is a gender neutral organization, as I always suggest these days, that keep the organizations gender neutral, so that if a female is harassing a male can also file a case under POSH. So in case of physical incapacity, a complainant's relative can file a complaint. Complainant's friend can file a complaint. Co-workers can also file complaints. Any other person who has knowledge can file complaints with the consent of the complainant. So the consent is required. If the consent is obtained, anybody, my co-worker or my husband or my parents or my relatives or my friends can raise a complaint on my behalf if I am physically incapacitated. In case of mental incapacitative, my relatives as well as my doctors or my educators or my guardians, they can file a complaint with my consent. But if I'm mental incapacitated and I'm not in that capacity to even give a consent, in that case, my relatives can file a complaint on my behalf. In case of complainant's death, so like I said, my colleague had committed a suicide. So who would have filed a complaint on her behalf? In that case, any person with sufficient knowledge about the incidents can file a written consent, can file a complaint with the written consent of her legal hire. In case the complainant is unable to file the complaint for any other reason by any person who has knowledge of the incident, whether with her written consent. And now, a very important point, who can complain? Whoever complains, please make it a point, it should be a written complaint. An oral complaint will never be entertained. So even if it is me as a person who has suffered harassment, or even if it is my relative who has suffered, even if it is my relative who's complaining on my behalf, in that case as well, a written complaint is mandatory. It cannot be an oral complaint. A written complaint is mandatory. So this I have covered. And when can a complaint be filed? A complaint must be filed. A complaint must be filed within 3 months from the date of the incidents, or 3 months from the date of the last incidents in case of repeated incidences. So if it is one of incidents, I should file a complaint within 3 months from the date of the incidents. And if it is repeated offenses, then 3 months from the date of any such last incidents can the complaint be filed. What is the redress? 90 days. So the complaints should come up with some decision or with some conclusion within 90 days. A final report should be submitted to the employer or the district officer, as the case may be, within 10 days thereafter. A copy of the report will also go to the concerned parties. The employer or the DO is obliged to act on the recommendations within 60 days of the receipt of the report. Now we come to the penalties. An 50,000 for failure to constitute an IC, failure to act upon recommendations of the IC, failure to file an annual report to the district officer, contravening any or attempting to contravene any of the acts or the rules, cancellation, withdrawal, non-renewal of registration license required for carrying on business for repeated offenses, and twice the punishment of above for repeated offenses. So an employer can be subjected to a penalty of 50,000 if he or she fails to constitute an IC, fails to act upon the recommendations of an IC, fail to submit the annual report to the district officer. And it may also go to cancellation of the business license required for carrying on the business if the offenses are repeated. Yes, so I would like to show you a small video here. I think it's not responding. No, it's not working. I think the video is not working, but never mind. This is the end of my presentation, and I would like to know the feedback about how did you find the presentation, or anything which you learned new or you came to know new about from my presentation, from this POSH video, POSH Act, about POSH Act.
Any questions from the participants?
Audience, yes, that would be great if there are any questions.
Yeah.
Aishwarya, hi, Shivani this side.
Hi.
Hi. So I have one question for the formation of the internal committee. So is it mandatory that 50% of the committee members should be female employees?
Yes, it is mandatory that 50% should be female employees, but in case
Okay.
you do not have those many employees as females in your organization, in that case, it is perfectly fine. You can have it as a whatever, even if you have one person as a female employee in the committee, that is perfectly fine.
Okay, all right, all right. And is there any maximum count? So, like minimum, we already got the idea from your PPT and your that it should be 4 members in the internal committee. So, any maximum count? Is there any thing of that sort?
No, there is no such maximum count of members. It is the minimum count which the Act has prescribed. Maximum, you can have any n number of members in the committee.
Okay, okay.
But
And
it
what
is
would be
always
your
said that
suggestion, Aishwarya? Like, how much would be the, uh,
I
general?
ideally suggest that maximum members should be limited till 4 or 5, because the more the heads come into the committee, the more the decision making would be delayed.
True, true. Yes, yes.
And the more the minds, the more channels of ideas get start becoming they start coming up. So ideally 4 to 5 members is what is suggested.
All right,
Minimum
all right.
number should be there, but maximum you shouldn't extend beyond 5 or 6.
True. All right, all right. Thank you, Aishwarya.
Yes.
Actually, in your presentation, you mentioned that there is one yearly return to be filed every calendar year.
Yes.
So, can you elaborate something about that? Where we
Yes,
have to
see, there
file
is a
and
can everybody unmute themselves, please? There's a disturbance from somebody. Yeah. So the yearly return is a calendar year return, unlike our income tax returns, which are like financial year. It is not that way. It is a calendar year return. So before every 31st of December, the organization, that is the IC, is responsible for filing the return with the district officer. Now, this return is not it does not have any specific format or anything like that. It is just that in the return, you should mention about the complaints you have heard in the organization during that calendar year. If there are no such complaints, it is perfectly all right. You can just mention in the return that a committee was formed. These are the IC members in our committee. We have displayed whatever requirements as per POSH Act on our notice boards, that there is an IC committee in place and people who are facing harassment can get in touch with those members. And apart from that, there was no event which was registered in the organization. So that is called a nil return. So that is to be submitted to the district officer.
And if there is any penalty or something, if it doesn't file returns?
If you do not file a return, like I said,
Yes.
You can be chargeable up to rupees 50,000. And if you repeat the offense, your license can be terminated. And I think I had shared it recently on my LinkedIn as well, that in Maharashtra, especially in Maharashtra, the Women's Commission is going to conduct random checks now into business organizations or organizations who are employing 10 or more employees. And they would be seeing that whether the POSH committee is in place and whether prevention of sexual harassment is being followed in the businesses.
Aishwarya, there is a question for you, that do all locations of an organization need a separate IC, or is it per?
No, every location should have. The IC might be centralized, that is perfectly fine, but every location should have that display on that. They should be displaying on that notice board as soon as we enter the organization. There should be a display which mentions the name of the members of the IC. So one IC for the entire organization is fine. Even if an organization for reporting purpose creates multiple ICs, that is also fine. So for example, MNCs which work globally, they have multiple ICs in place. So one IC for Pune, one IC for Delhi, one IC for US or any other location, but they have multiple ICs. So it is all right, unless as long as you have an IC in place and that IC is reachable to all the members of the organization, that is perfectly fine. But for convenience sake, employers or big employers, they prefer having ICs for separate ICs for separate locations.
One more question from my side.
Yeah.
Take my organization, for example, where we have 15 women and 5 men. So,
Yeah.
what about this case? Whether it is required?
You are liable. You are liable because your number of employees have crossed 10, and rather you have more than one female employee working under you. So you are anyways liable.
15 women employees in top positions and men are in junior positions.
That
So,
is perfectly fine. You can adopt a gender neutral policy, because I can see in this case, male harassment can also be possible.
That's why our participants are more, male member are more here.
Yes,
You
yes.
can see in
Because
participations,
if
male member are
everybody,
more.
yeah, so now I have received one comment in the chat box that we are working remotely. So now what? So now let me tell you, working remotely has actually expanded the boundaries of office. So earlier workplace was only limited to your workplace, that is your office or where you are going for work purpose. But now your workplace has actually come to your house as well. Your house will be considered as your workplace because you are working from home for your employer. So if you face any challenges here, like for example, there may be nasty comments while in a meeting online, or there may be inappropriate chats going on a WhatsApp, or there may be inappropriate emails which are coming in your inbox. In that case as well, you can reach out to your IC and share the documentary evidence, and you are liable to get justice under POSH.
Pinky madam, any more questions from your side, or should we wrap it?
We can wrap.
Aishwarya, it was really a fantastic session. There is
one last question is there.
Yeah, there is one last question, which is it mandatory to hold meetings only if there is a case? No, a meeting should be conducted once in a year, where all the IC members are gathered, they come together, they discuss the activities they did for the organization. So for example, trainings. So every organization, when has a IC, when they have to create awareness for the employees, they should have trainings in their workplace, so that their employees get aware that, okay, our workplace is covered under POSH and we have those rights to raise our voice and we'll be protected always. So mandatory trainings, at least yearly, twice or quarterly once, a training should be conducted in organizations so that employees become aware of POSH and that they are protected. And annually once, the IC committee should definitely meet and discuss what all activities they did for the employees, the training sessions they took for the employees, any cases which have come up, or if there is no case as well, they have to meet once mandatorily and have a discussion and then submit a report to the DO.
There's one more question in chat box for you.
If employee count goes down, then do we have to continue with IC or not? If your employee count goes down below 10, as a good practice, you can continue with IC, but you're not under any obligation to continue with IC. So it is not mandatory. If your employee count goes below 10, it is not mandatory for you to have an IC in place. But if you are willing, you can have it in place, or else you can just make your employees aware through POSH trainings that in case they face any such issue in the organization, they should reach out to the local complaint committee.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yes.
Can I request everybody just to turn on their cameras if they are allowed, so we can have a group photo?
Yeah.
We are banned, I suppose.
There are few people who are allowed. I don't know.
Yeah, there's some restriction, I suppose.
Okay, fine. I'll click it
Sorry,
like this.
I could never start my camera throughout the session. So I'm going to, yeah, I tried very hard to start my
I'm
camera.
extremely sorry, Soham, but there seems to be
No,
some.
that's okay.
Yeah. Yes. It was a wonderful session. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. I hope everybody enjoyed the session.
Yes, truly very well done. Very फारच छान केलं.
Actually, I wanted to show the last video, but I don't know why isn't it playing at my end, because that will definitely create an impact which will be long lasting. I'm just trying
once again.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that once again, or I'll just directly play that video in YouTube. So that everybody can enjoy seeing that video.
Everybody their video on, so till then maybe you can try and then we can have a photograph.
Yeah, I have just taken the pictures right now. So let me share my screen and we can just watch the video, which is the
Try Les Mills Plus free for 30 days. Find strength.
न वक्त ने कहा
is my
रुकने
audio
के लिए,
visible?
न
Audio
कदमों ने
audible?
कहा थमने
Yes. It is audible, right?
के लिए, तो क्यों रुक जाऊं मैं जब चलते जाना मुझे पसंद है। इस जमीन पे मेरा भी हक है।
पलकों पे सपने सजाए चल पड़े हैं हम देखना उम्मीदों को पंख लगाए उड़ रहे हैं हम देखना हौसले भर दिल में अपने जीत जाएंगे बंदिशें अब तोड़ सारी मुस्कुराएंगे लो करते हैं वादा हम अपने आप से मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है हक है हक है बदलाव की रुत है रुत है रुत है मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है हक है हक है बदलाव की रुत है रुत है रुत है
ना सूरज ने छोड़ा रोशन करना, ना बारिश ने मुझे भिगाना, तो क्यों ना खेल खिलाऊं मैं। जब जिंदगी जीना मुझे पसंद है, खुश रहने का मुझे भी हक है। ना आईने ने मुंह मोड़ा, ना कभी मैंने अपना साथ छोड़ा, तो क्यों ना खुद को रिझाऊं मैं। जब ये रंगो रौनक मुझे पसंद है, मुझ पे सिर्फ मेरा ही हक है।
वक्त आया है बढ़ते कदमों से कदम हमको मिलाना है दिल में जज्बा है हर एक ख्वाहिश को अब पूरी कर दिखाना है कुछ गिरते कुछ संभलते मंजिल पा लेंगे कह दो जहां से हर ख्वाब सच कर देंगे लो कर लो तुम इकरार अपने आप से मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है हक है हक है बदलाव की रुत है रुत है मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है हक है
मेरे शब्दों ने नहीं कहा कि मुझे मत चुन, ना मेरे ख्वाबों ने कहा कि मुझे मत बुन। तो क्यों ना सपने देखूं मैं, जब उनके लिए लड़ना मुझे पसंद है। क्यों चुप रहूं मैं, जब आवाज़ पे मेरा भी हक है। हाँ, मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है।
मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है, हक है, हक है, बदलाव की रुत है, रुत है, रुत है। मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है, हक है, हक है, बदलाव की रुत है, रुत है, रुत है। मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है, हक है, हक है, बदलाव की रुत है, रुत है, रुत है। मुझ पे मेरा ही हक है, हक है, हक है, बदलाव की रुत है, रुत है, रुत है।
सुनिए।
Yes, so that was the video I was talking about. And
Thanks for sharing the video, Aishwarya. It was really fabulous.
yes, and I think everybody now, every woman should be aware that there is nobody else who can dominate her or dictate her. It is her free will to act. She can stand up for herself. She can speak out for herself. We are living in a modern society now. So, and definitely this goes to my male counterparts as well, that if they are getting suppressed or if they are facing the same challenges, they should stand up and speak out. The thing is, they should express, they should come out, and they should not go under the shell. That is the main motto of Posh.
One more thing I want to add, if you allowed me, Aishwarya.
Sure, ma'am.
Actually, I told you that we are taking the project Raham Saudhan for kids.
Yes.
So in that program, we are saying the kids कि आप यदि किसी रास्ते चलते यदि कुत्ते बिल्ली या किसी जानवर को भी टच करते हो तो वो भी आपको रिएक्ट करता है.
Yes.
तो जब एक एनिमल अपने आप को विदाउट उनके एग्री के हम उसको टच नहीं कर सकते तो हम तो इंसान हैं.
Right.
Why we are allowing?
Right. Absolutely right.
Pinky madam, well said.
Aishwarya, it was really a fantastic session, and on behalf of WRC and as well as the participants here, I really thank you. Really, from the bottom of my heart. At the start, when you mentioned about Posh, I was a bit worried that whether people would really be wanting to know about this topic in the first place. But I think it has proved for itself that this is really a topic one must be aware of. And more than that, the way you have presented it is fabulous. I mean, the way it was peppered with videos, it made for an engaging presentation. And your voice is really, we can want to stay here and listen to you.
Thank you so much, Ruta. Thank you so much. I thank Soham as well.
And I want to really think about those things that you mentioned at the start of your session, that stand up, speak up. Really, if you have to stand alone also, please stand up for what you believe and want to speak about it. Really. Super.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
I would like to thank Soham also for being part of this lovely event and definitely guiding me, though he couldn't turn on his camera. I'm really sorry for that, but then definitely it was a wonderful contribution, Soham.
Thank you, Aishwarya. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pinky ma'am, for your time. And on this note, we will end the session here now. And also, I think we missed Dushti Desai ma'am, who has started with this particular seminar series of WOW.
Of course.
Once again,
And anybody who wishes to conduct any such trainings for awareness in their organizations, do feel free to reach out to me. I'm there to conduct awareness programs for employees as well. I can guide you on your posh compliances as well. Thank you so much.
Please type in your email address and contact details so that people can.
Sure, I'll just do that. I'll do that.
Maybe you can share the screen also with it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen. Yes, I'm sharing my screen. I'm not able to see the chat.
Okay, put it on a Word file or something, no? So that it.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. I've shared my details as well.
Oh.
Contact details. So it is CA Aishwarya at ankaksharconsulting.com. And my number is 9881 563350.
Share your presentation as well. In that, on the last slide, it's mentioned.
Okay, I can do that right away. Will I have to share this presentation with Ruta?
Yeah, please share it with us. We will put it on WRC website. It will be archived for everyone and the participants can also know it.
Sure, sure. I'll do that. I'll do
On
that.
the last slide, please mention your contact details.
Sure, I'm doing that. I'm doing that right away.
Any of the participants wanting to connect with Aishwarya and who are not able to do so, any one of you can contact me or Pinky madam so that we can connect you to her.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'll share this presentation with Ruta.
Yeah. I'll send it to WRC. You can also send it to WRC.
Sure, sure, definitely.
Otherwise, if possible, you can drop in chat box right now so everyone can get.
I couldn't hear you, ma'am.
If possible, you can put in chat box. Then everyone can get.
She has already done that, Pinky.
I've done that in the chat box.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
PPT, your PPT.
Will that be possible?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay. Just a moment.
Try doing copy paste of the file.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
If not, you can just share it.
I'll share it across. I'll share it across. Yeah.
I'll share
it. Will be better. Yeah, it's gone there. It's gone. My PPT is there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It is there. We got it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Wonderful
Thank you.
presentation. Appreciate it much. Efforts
Thank
of
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ruta, are you giving vote of thanks?
Hello?
Yeah, are you giving vote of thanks, Ruta?
I thought I actually did. Okay, so on behalf of the WIRC and the participants, I thank you. Aishwarya has left, I think. No issue. I've already done. No problem. I think we all can leave if at all Aishwarya has downloaded, sent her profile. As far as presentation is concerned, we'll wait for her to share it, and I'll share it at WRC website also and send it to Mishra ji for further things. She has left, I think. Okay, so we'll end the session. Pinky ma'am, you have.
क्या बोल रहे हैं?
Yeah.
हेलो
Hello. Tell me.
निशा बोल रहे हैं?
सर ऐश्वर्या मॅडम नाही आहेत, तुम्हाला मी प्रेझेंटेशन पाठवते, तिने पाठवलं मला. आपण एंड करूया सेशन.
बंद कर दो ना.
एंड करूया.
ओके थँक्यू.